Up a little.
Too much energy on that point.
Wow. All right. You're good this time.
Yeah.
Hey, and welcome back to another episode of the Right Hand Drive Guys podcast, the show for guys who like right hand drives. As usual, I'm Bobby. This is Aaron.
Yo.
And this is episode 77. All about the time your favorite Japanese brand went bankrupt or out of business and you never even knew about it.
Big sad, but not really because you never knew about it, right?
Right, exactly. And, we did some pretty decent research for this episode. We wanted to make sure we didn't sound like dum-dums.
Yeah.
And there's a lot more companies that have had financial or logistical issues than I'd realized.
Yeah, me too.
One thing that we really found out was it's hard as hell to find some of this stuff.
Yeah.
Like
some of this info?
Yeah, because I would assume, maybe in Japan, right? Maybe there was a lot more articles about it because they were Japanese brands that
Right.
for the most part, but we really had to dig in. So pretty much we were like, I had found the first one, and I was like, wow, maybe this is like a thing. And we just started kind of like going down the rabbit hole and realizing a lot more of these type of things had happened.
Yeah, and it's kind of cool. Like you can probably see and correlate, the dates that they filed bankruptcy as like, where they started going downhill or where they started kind of turning it around and actually doing decent.
Yeah, exactly. And so like the thing with bankruptcy is a lot of people think like you file bankruptcy pretty much means you have zero money and you're going out of business. That's what, a lot of people would think. But it's not always like that, especially with big companies. A lot of times they're filing bankruptcy in order to have some sort of a relief so they can continue or have some sort of guidance or help, you know what I mean? And bankruptcy laws between here and Japan are also different, so there's quite a bit to it, but we're just going to scratch the surface and just kind of, throw out these brands that have had these type of issues and just kind of chat about maybe what happened. And one thing, that once I started doing all this research, I really realized, I'm like, damn, okay, pretty much 2008 screwed everything.
Yeah.
That's what it seems is like 2008 screwed everything and the
worldwide.
Right, worldwide, and the car scene period was not a priority during this time because people were fighting for their homes, their whatever, right? So a lot of this did happen around that time range, which does make sense, So for the first one, and this was probably the most widely publicized, I would say, because it really is a big company. In 2008, Greddy, or Trust, the parent company, filed for bankruptcy to avoid total closure.
Yeah.
And so this one, I mean, if you look at on the internet, you can really kind of find out a lot about this.
Yeah.
And
this was this U.S. and Japan, or was
this was Trust, which is Japan.
Right.
So there's Greddy Performance Products Inc. is the U.S. leg, right?
Gotcha.
And Greddy in Trust are the Japanese. So
got it.
Greddy GPP, Greddy Performance, that's the U.S. You know what I'm saying? So and pretty much it was kind of funny that we were doing this episode because June was talking about Kenji in the last episode, and Kenji really helped keep Greddy from totally falling apart. Greddy USA and Trust in Japan through Greddy USA. He really helped turn it around because when Trust filed for bankruptcy, it was they were $60 million in debt.
Whew.
They were $60 million in debt.
Dude, that's a whole lot of coilovers, exhaust, and all that. Turbo kits.
It really is.
Holy cow, dude, that's a lot of money.
And so basically the way they filed for for bankruptcy is through reorganization,
Yeah.
and that forces kind of the company to be watched by the feds,
Yeah.
and like kind of kept on their toes. And I do believe they get delayed taxes through that bankruptcy, which helps them continue to operate.
Right.
And so that year that they filed bankruptcy, they pulled out of SEMA.
Yeah.
They had to completely reorganize the business. So it obviously got out of hand
Yeah. I would
because
say.
they only made $40 million that year that they were in debt. $60 million. That's negative 20 in the
Yeah.
red. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like when you think about it. And so pretty much at this point they had to really cut things back.
Yeah.
Obviously lean out the company.
Oh yeah.
Probably figure out where their direction, because I feel like maybe their direction started to get too wide.
Right.
They started wanting to make stuff for everything instead of sticking to the core.
Right.
And kind of, keeping that tight. So the good thing is trust Greddy still around.
Yeah. 100%.
They made it through. Kenji, made it through, and there's still the Greddy USA. It may be smaller than it once was.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what you got to do when things get hard.
Yeah, I mean, with a company like Greddy, I wonder how much, counterfeit parts played a part in that bankruptcy. You know what I mean? Like, because 2008, that was around the time I feel like a lot of people started ordering parts off the internet, whether it be eBay or, whatever the site was back then.
For sure.
And those parts were probably not genuine. You know, or some of them at least, right? Like, dude, I've seen a million fake Greddy blow-off valves.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like,
And imagine the people that bought them didn't know that they were getting ripped off.
Yeah.
And then now they have this part, it breaks.
Yeah.
Now, Greddy sucks. They're running their mouth on the internet. Greddy sucks, blah, blah. And so, imagine the damage that type of thing can do to these businesses.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the things I always think of when I think of these tuner brands in this time period is like, how much did the counterfeit parts, whatever, I don't even know what you would call that category, I guess, or whatever it might be. How much of those counterfeit parts affect these businesses to the point of shutting down or almost shutting down, bankruptcy?
Yeah.
And, like back then they would always put out these articles and like little blurbs about like, hey, this is our genuine parts that look like this. This is a fake. It's like, yeah, I could see why now because, they're losing business.
Yeah.
And it turns into things like that.
I mean, and probably part of the hard part is to actually gauge that is those fake parts, right? The reach of, so for example, like you said, even just on eBay, like before they really slimmed down the listings, it would be like Greddy.
Yeah.
So like, if you think about this, like how much did it actually lose them and how much did it, or did it create more awareness of the brand period just by name recognition, whether somebody bought those fake parts or just, oh, Greddy, what's that? Oh, wow, they make goes to Greddy.com. They make a turbo kit for my Scion TC.
Oh, right.
Oh, dang. So I'm not saying that, the fake shit is cool at all, but like it would be really interesting to really see like, what was that like?
Yeah.
Was it a super detriment, or like were they still getting like the legit people that wanted legit parts, but maybe a little more brand awareness? I don't know. So I figure we could follow Greddy/Trust with HKS. So these are the two big boy brands that we're really exploring today. And HKS in 2011 filed for bankruptcy in the U.S. and then shortly after closed the U.S. offices. So again, like not too long after the, the whole 2008 debacle, right?
Yeah.
They held on, but now like they're like, okay, dang, yeah, we got to lean up here because this is getting tough,
Right.
And so pretty much it was a thing where at the time the chairman of HKS was named Jun Toyota, Interesting.
Yeah.
With the D though.
Yeah.
And he said that pretty much like it's mostly the struggling economy, but there was a lot more within HKS USA that was plaguing it. And right after the disaster in Japan, you know, the whole Fukushima meltdown,
Yeah.
they were having a really hard time transporting products, getting products to the United States. So they're getting orders for HKS USA. HKS USA is taking the money, can't fulfill them, having a lot of bad mouthing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So now people are losing trust, not to mention the shrinking demand for these parts, period, you know, and then probably kind of like what you were saying with the Greddy stuff, right?
Yeah, the knockoffs.
Dude, the SSQV,
dude,
my
all
Lord.
over the place, dude.
That
like,
has to be the most fake blow-off valve. It has to be.
That version 3 or whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
yeah,
so
dude,
bad, dude.
It is insane. And I mean, that probably was a big detriment to their business.
Yeah.
So does HKS have offices in the U.S. nowadays, or did they ever move back over?
I don't know. That's a good question. I'm not sure. I know that in 2011 they had a really nice spot. Like they had a really nice spot.
They usually do.
And they said that they decided to close up shop, pack it up, and bring everything back to Japan and keep it under their eye.
Yeah.
Now.
Well, yeah. So who was running it? You know what I mean? In that sense,
well,
too.
that's right. The U.S. part, and then the U.S. closing down created a little bit of distrust in the brand for a little while, and people were questioning whether, you know, HKS Co. Ltd., the Japanese brand, would last. You know, they were questioning whether it would last through, you know, the early 2010s. You know, so it's pretty crazy how financial problems can create these situations, or mismanagement, whatever, creates these situations where people lose trust and start really questioning what
the people
you're
as
doing.
in like your customers.
Yeah,
your customer
for sure.
base. Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, right, you hear the brand that you're always getting stuff from is filing bankruptcy.
Yeah.
That's like a red flag. Like, oh shoot, are they going to cut corners, and am I going to start getting junk? You know, there's a lot
How
of
am I going
questions.
to warranty this or whatever it might be down the road?
Yeah.
Like,
Are they going to answer my call, or are they going to let it go to voicemail every time, you know?
Right.
So yeah, HKS though, you know, kind of decided to take that loss instead of ending up in Greddy's shoes, which was a full-blown bankruptcy for the whole company. You know, so they were able to avoid it with the Japanese company by taking all the assets and stuff back from the American company and re-putting it into the Japanese company to last the long haul.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So,
and then obviously leaning out everything and not having this office and not having all these people that are not
lazy
running
Americans.
that aren't running a good business, obviously. So that makes total sense. So at the end, did they file bankruptcy, or did they just shut down their U.S. branch to kind of save the whole?
In the article that I was reading, it said that in 2011 they declared Chapter 11 bankruptcy, and that was just for the U.S. like HKS USA did.
I see.
Not HKS Co. Limited or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where you know, the market became flooded with like the small vans and the K cars, and at that same time, because the manufacturers are making economic, affordable cars because of the 2008 thing. Yeah. You know, now that's, as we know, you know, that was like a dead time for performance cars.
Other than like what, GTRs?
Right.
Like,
yeah. I mean,
out of Japan at least. Like,
yeah.
Not much.
So, yeah, I mean, HKS, you know, they weren't immune to some of these issues that even smaller companies were having.
Yeah, but I mean, dude, look at them today. Like, they've fully turned it around, dude. And it's kind of crazy that, you know, they're still making some of these parts they were making 30 years ago, or, you know, were coming out with 30 years ago, whether it be like the high power exhaust for the R32 GTR, or, you know, just all these things they make.
Yeah.
And they're still producing them brand new. And that's just That's great. That's awesome.
And they've stepped up their accessory game as well, like their little merch stuff. You know, like we got these pillows, HKS filter pillows over here,
Dude,
and
floor mats,
sandals, like
sandals,
they,
hats.
you know, I mean,
yeah,
they get it though.
Yeah.
You know,
They know that
we
shit's
bought
cool.
the stuff.
Yeah.
You know, so another big boy, which at one time was a very big boy like these other two. Maybe this one isn't a bankruptcy, but it's a very big speed bump in an otherwise like a pretty good reputation for a company.
Yeah.
So Veilside opened up Veilside USA, and they partner with this guy that pretty much is their U.S. guy, right? He has to put in some money for the warehouse and everything like that. They, put in obviously all of the R&D and, all of the shipping channels and all that stuff, right? So, but Veilside owns a large percentage, whether it's 51 or 49% of Veilside USA. So they have access to everything, the bank accounts, the ordering, the suppliers, everything, you name it, right? So, pretty much at a certain point, and I have a letter here from the founder of Veilside USA, which I won't read the whole thing, but he says in 1999 he opened Veilside USA with Veilside Japan
in 99.
Yeah, with great hope for building up a market of quality body kit parts from Japan. For many years, they were able to provide a great product and unique designs, and through their close relationships with shops, they were successful. Unfortunately, economic hardships for the industry fell very difficult times, especially in Japan. The Japan office became heavily in debt, and the U.S. office did its best to help keep the Japan office going. And so from here, he explains how they would make orders and pay the Japan office, and the Japan office would never ship the product.
Oh, wow.
They would never get it. They were using it to pay their debt.
Yeah.
And so then at another point, okay, they have 100 orders with the Japan office. They are
100 orders?
100 orders with the Japan.
That's, dude, for body kits, high end, like body kits, not just Duraflex crap, like high end.
Yeah.
For high end cars, that's crazy. That's decent.
And so what they say is there were many months when the U.S. staff were not able to receive salary due to the amount of money that the Japan office was taking from the U.S. accounts. And pretty much a few accounts, the Japan office received payments from orders for the Middle East through the U.S. office, but refused to ship the product out. And after a year of waiting, the U.S. staff decided to go without any pay and use all of the money to order the product again from the factory.
So they went around Veilside Japan, went straight to the factory, said, "Hey, here's the cash. We need these kids."
Yeah, and pretty much what happens is after months and months, so they pay the factory, right? The factory's like, "Okay, yeah, we can make this happen." Veilside Japan finds out, goes to the factory, says, "We will not ever deal with you again if you do this," even though they owe the factory money.
Wow.
We won't pay you if you do this type thing. They give the money back to Veilside Japan or Veilside USA and say, "Hey, you'll have to figure something else out."
Dude, that is so crazy.
Yeah. So at this point, the U.S. guy, his name is Ray Fong. He's the guy that went into business with Japan and is going through all this.
Yeah.
They had to sell out all of they had to sell out all the remaining product. They had to use their own money and take out loans in order to pay all of these people back with all of these orders because Japan took the money.
Wow, dude.
Yeah.
And nothing.
Yeah, they were desperate, dude.
That is so crazy. Like this right here could have changed like completely what Veilside would be in America. Because if you think about it, like in 1999, that was, the year Fast and Furious, or, it was coming out. I think it was 99, right? 99, 2000.
Well, 2001 it came out, but they started filming it in 99.
Right. And dude, I don't know about you, but the first time I saw Veilside, anything to do with Veilside, was in that movie.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, Toretto's car.
Yeah,
dude.
yeah. You're like, holy shit.
Dude, the Andrew Racing dish wheels he had, all that, dude. Like, so, I mean, it's just crazy to think if they would have treated this relationship correctly, they could have been, this high-end producer still in the U.S.
They kind of were.
Yeah.
Until, like you said, Japan, like, ripped it out from under him. Like, this dude, Ray Fong, was killing it.
Yeah, I was about to say, that dude, Ray, I mean, he must have had the vision. Like, that must have been his vision, dude, because he must have saw it coming because, yeah, people are going to want this stuff. It's hot. Yeah. It's in this movie that's super popular. And then again in Tokyo Drift and Too Fast and Furious.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Dude, it's all of them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
they
dropped the ball major, dude. So that's crazy. You usually don't hear it that way, I don't feel like.
Yeah, that Japanese are ripping off the U.S. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's pretty crazy. And I mean, I feel bad for this guy. I'm sure he's moved on at this point, but yeah, dude, just to deal with all that and build something up to have it ripped out from under you.
And just having to reinvest your own money over and over again just to get ripped off over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
That sucks.
Pretty bad. So this one's a little different. It's about a Japanese company in Europe.
Yeah.
So, and this is hard, to tarnish this name a little bit. This is hard.
Yeah.
Spoon Europe.
Spoon Europe.
So Spoon had a division in Europe, just like they have Spoon Sports USA here that Edmund Laura runs, and they had a Spoon Europe. And so in 2007, Rampage Motorsports had done the deal with Spoon to create the Spoon Europe, and they were going to run it, and Spoon owned part of it, kind of like the Veilside thing, right? This time the opposite. Rampage just rampaged through all of the stock, didn't pay Spoon, and files bankruptcy.
Are you kidding me, dude?
And so it only lasted 2 years before Rampage Motorsports was no longer.
Dude, that sucks.
Yeah.
And when stuff like this happens too, I feel like some of these brands just cut it off. They're like, you know what? We don't have to do this.
Yeah.
We don't have to do this anymore. We don't have to have Spoon Europe.
Right.
We don't, whatever the brand might be, and it just sucks for those people that are into it and do like it and, was ordering whatever it might be from Spoon Europe and never getting their stuff.
Yeah, imagine how awesome that was at the time, right? You're the guy with the EK or the EG and you're ordering shit, dude, full motors, whatever else, and you're like, dude, this is awesome. And then, boom, you go back, the sign's gone. He's just like, jeez,
dude,
man.
That would suck.
And, again, pay attention to the dates, right? Like, one of our favorite, just kind of, they make all kinds of cool stuff, but ARC International, right? They filed bankruptcy in 2011.
Yeah.
They were able to, it was another reorganization where they were able to tighten things up. And, I'm not sure how much they're doing today.
Yeah.
But they didn't go out of business at this point.
Right.
Zero Sports filed bankruptcy in 2011. Huh. And that's just another one of those Japanese brands, that made a bunch of different little stuff. And I believe they had like body kits and stuff too, didn't they?
I think so.
Yeah. So 2007, Apexi files for bankruptcy. Like, it's, dude.
Another one of those, like, did the counterfeits because, dude, all over the place.
They
had the
bad
knockoff turbo timers.
Yeah.
Like, that was their main knockoff product, I feel like, was the turbo timers and, like, maybe the air filters or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, they definitely got, like, screwed on it. I mean, even in 2010, Japan Airlines filed bankruptcy. So, like, I think it...
So, right, yeah.
It sounds like we got hit hard with it in 2008, but it sounds like it really affected Japan, like, too.
Yeah,
Like, we're so focused on ourselves during that time because everybody's struggling. We don't even realize across the world they're struggling just as bad.
Yeah.
And I know you had a few that you had actually found that.
Yeah. K Office,
That was Kechi Tsuchiya's stuff.
Kishi Tsuchiya's, signature brand, I guess you would call it. They made everything from wheels, body kits, coilovers, driving gloves, like, random accessories for a lot of cars too, not just, A86s. It was a bunch of the Nissans, a bunch of Toyotas, like MR2s.
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, he made parts for everything. And
I had the Windows sticker on my Accord. I thought it was awesome, dude.
Nice,
First
dude.
one I ever installed. Oh,
Yes,
Lord.
dude, no bubbles or nothing. Huh?
Nah, I don't know about that.
But yeah, I mean, it was just one of those brands that was around for a while, and then one day it wasn't. All the engineers kind of went off to another company, and it came out that he was starting just a suspension company called DG5. And there's not a lot of info out there about K Office closing down. It just kind of sounds like it just kind of fizzled out.
Sometimes when the time
then,
to be done is the time to be done.
Yeah. It just kind of fizzled out, and the new thing was there already. Kind of, I don't know, it's a weird thing, but I could see that as, them trying to simplify things. They didn't want to focus on all these parts that, they had to find manufacturing for all of it. And they could just we can just focus on coilovers and maybe some suspension arms. I don't even know if they do that, to be honest. But I mean, it was a good move, and I'm pretty sure they're still around today.
Yeah, I mean,
DG5.
Definitely, obviously, the Japan thing, they didn't make it to the point of some of these other brands that, really exploded over here.
Yeah.
You got anything? Any others?
I got another one. It's not necessarily a parts brand, but it has to do with some, I don't know, I guess shady money laundering type.
Dum.
A couple years ago, this company called TMAR stood for Trail Motor Apex Racing.
Wow.
And they had sponsored Naoki Nakamura, and they sponsored a few of Daigo's cars. But no one really knew what it was. But basically, I'm trying to find where it says right here. Basically, TMAR is a subsidiary of a logistics company called Trail. It also turns out that Trail recently went bankrupt after getting caught embezzling millions of dollars from Rakuten Mobile, which is like a huge company in Japan.
Yeah.
They had had a contract to install cell phone towers, and I guess they never fulfilled it. And then a warehouse in Tokyo was discovered housing 150 vintage and exotic cars, and they were all owned by the Trail TMAR group. And then the owner disappeared. So yeah, he got all this money from Rakuten, started this drift team with Daigo and Naoki, which is two of the biggest players over there, and then just disappears, dude. Some of these Japanese guys do a disappearing act.
Yeah, that's what they like to do.
They're just done. They're out.
They run and hide. Yeah, that's I mean, I get it. He's like, damn, this shit's falling apart quick.
But dude, what a way to embezzle and
yeah, I mean,
launder some monies through a drift team and
with
car
two
collection.
Of the biggest dudes. Yeah, I mean, but I guess he didn't keep it on the low enough.
No, I mean, do shady business long enough, it's gonna catch up to you.
Yeah,
I mean, it's been shown time and time again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. So yeah, I mean, some of these companies that we know and love, their history hasn't been all winners circles and awesome. They've had to go through some pretty rough times, some embarrassing times, having to file bankruptcy or pulling the disappearing act on your team or pretty much stealing all the money from your other office. I mean, some of these companies don't have a super squeaky clean past, but this is how I guess that there is this learning time, right? And clearly, they learned that they probably expanded too fast.
Yeah, and that's what I was about to say. If you look at the timeline, the 2008, 2011 or so,
pretty much,
dude, all the cars were cooling off at that point. These companies just came from this super high from, making all these parts for, all these super popular Japanese sports cars. And then, the economy cools down in Japan. No one's buying the parts. And then
the cars are getting older.
The cars are getting older. And then, like, they're not making any new cars that are cool. So they can't really get a new crowd. And it's just like a perfect storm. And then all the financial crisis, I guess, if you want to call it, hit. And then it happens. Perfect storm.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
glad some of them are still here today, though.
Yeah, for sure. It is cool to see because it's like, okay, well, you can go through some troubles. You can have to, downsize, but you can still make it. You just have to be strategic about it. You know?
Yeah. I mean, it still kind of blows my mind that Veilside is still kind of doing business. I wonder if it's
and
the
that
same.
You didn't hear this big.
Yeah,
like the dude kind of got like pushed down, silenced a little bit or something,
Yeah, I mean, they still have a huge presence, at Auto Salon and all that. They're out there.
Yeah, I mean, and there was one
crazy.
point for like 15 years they didn't even create one single new product. They were just putting out all of the old stuff.
The Fortune kits for RX-7s.
Right, yeah. Pretty much, yeah. I mean...
Pre-painted orange and black.
Yeah, literally, yeah. You strap it right on. But yeah, so, I mean, this was episode 77 here. Just kind of just going through all of this, like we said, and just kind of chopping it up about...
Yeah, love the history.
Yeah, about the history. Yeah, it is nice to know. And if you want to look us up, whatever, at RHDGUIS on all the socials. Of course, our website, rhdguis.com. You can get all the merch and listen to past episodes. But for episode 77, I'm Bobby. This is Aaron.
See ya.
Peace.